Today, we dive a little bit deeper into the main and co-main event of UFC 306, UFC Noche. We're going to dive deep into what happens next for the winner of the main event for the Bantamweight Championship. And then, what happens next for the winner of the Women's Flyweight Championship. All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back with it. It's your boy, Matt. We're here to go over we're going to take a deeper dive, if you will, into UFC Noche. And let's be frank, let's be right to it. There's not a lot of fights on this card to dive deeper into. Again, I haven't really gone out here and said a lot of bad things necessarily about UFC Noche like I see a lot of people doing. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, the UFC could have put on a huge spectacle fight-wise and tried to duplicate another UFC 300. But from when I look at this card, in my opinion, what they're attempting to do, outside of showing you all the crazy graphics and visuals that the Las Vegas Sphere can actually drum up, can create, man, it's for it's for Mexican Independence Day, so to speak. It's Canelo weekend. You know what I'm saying? It's like that if you thought that they weren't going to find as many Hispanic fighters as they could to fight on the card, then you're crazy. And this card is designed for the Hispanic fighters to go out there, put on a show against their opponent, and get the crowd in an uproar behind them. And as far as the main events, you're really only going to get that if Alexa Grasso wins, but it kind of is what it is, man. So, basically, there's not a lot of fights that there's not a lot to dive deep into because a lot of these guys are up-and-comers in the UFC. So that's why I'm only going to focus on the main event. You got Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez, but I feel like with the win from Brian Ortega, maybe it might put him in position to drum up some sort of upper echelon fight or a title fight, but I really don't see that happening at all because I kind of think Brian Ortega is a problem for the UFC, and I don't think the UFC is going to do him any favors. I'm pretty sure that the UFC is hoping behind the scenes that Diego Lopez goes out there and washes Brian Ortega. And as for Diego Lopez, he's still got quite a few wins that he needs to string together before he's going to get a title shot. So with that being said, let's talk about the main event. Sugar Sean O'Malley goes out there to defend his Bantamweight Championship against Merab Dvalishvili. Bro, when I'm looking at this fight, let's talk about if Merab wins. When you look at this fight, in my opinion, as I'm looking at the rankings for Bantamweight, man, to be real, bro, if we're talking about Merab, all roads, whether Merab or Sean O'Malley win this fight, all roads lead to Umar Nurmagomedov. He is now ranked number 2 in the division after defeating Corey Sandhagen. What I will say is, as I spoke about on my previous video previewing UFC Noche, it's hard for the UFC to make a lot of these fights because a lot of things don't line up with these guys. So, when I'm looking at it, if Merab goes out there and win, 9 times out of 10, he's probably defending the title against Umar Nurmagomedov. Easily. The UFC will not hesitate to pull that trigger. But, if Umar cannot meet the date that the UFC is trying to do that Bantamweight Championship fight, enter Petr Yan. You know what I'm saying? The Russian James Bond himself. Enter him into the picture, you know what I'm saying? Maybe he's more of a James Bond villain, you know what I'm saying? Nevertheless, him versus Merab or Umar versus Merab is the only way I see this going down because Corey Sandhagen just took a loss. Davison Figueiredo is climbing, but I think they're going to make Davison fight one more fight. There's always a chance they could throw Davison in there with Merab, but I really think all roads lead to Umar Nurmagomedov. And if it's Merab that wins, it's Piotr Yan outside of Umar. Now, if Sugar Sean O'Malley wins, different set of parameters for him. If Sean O'Malley defeats Merab and retains his bantamweight championship, well, like I said, you got Umar Nurmagomedov that he could go in there and fight. I'm looking at the rankings if you're wondering who I'm looking at in the corner. I don't see them doing Sean O'Malley versus Piotr Yan 2 no time soon. Not with Umar floating out there. But also, if Davison puts together another huge win, I could see a fight between Davison Figueiredo and Sean O'Malley. But I think Figueiredo's got to put together one more win. But something key that even Sean O'Malley said at the media day this week. If Sean O'Malley goes out there and he defeats Merab, and he likened it to Conor McGregor, and Conor McGregor goes out there and he loses his next fight, if he ever fights again, if he never fights again, this is for sure, Sean O'Malley, with the win over Merab, might be the UFC's biggest star at the moment. Izzy fell off. He's getting into road rage incidents. You know what I'm saying? He's spitting on common folk. You know what I'm talking about? Outside of Alex Pereira, Sean O'Malley might be the UFC's biggest star if he defeats Merab. You know what I'm saying? Because Sean O'Malley, you know, by the culture that he brings to the game, the 420 getting high culture, the California living culture, even though I know he doesn't necessarily live in California, but the cars, the Lambos, the bright colors, the jewelry, the hair, you know what I'm talking about? Sean O'Malley brings in a younger crowd than what Alex Pereira is going to bring in. Alex Pereira brings in that hardcore, that fight crowd. We want to see someone get left hooked into Hades. We want to see somebody get left hooked into oblivion when you're talking about Alex Pereira. We want to see a barbarian, a warrior. You know what I'm saying? Someone that back in medieval times, Alex Pereira would have been number one to the king. Whenever there's a war to be fought, call in Powhatan. You know what I'm talking about? That's different from what Sean O'Malley brings to the table. With that being said, if Sean O'Malley beats Merab, Umar is on deck. But let's say Umar can't meet the fight requirement, the date that they want. Or Sean O'Malley, frankly, doesn't want to go in there with another primary wrestling type fighter. Sean O'Malley's in a different game. He's in a different game because he's marketable for what? Crossover fights. And I don't mean crossover in the boxing. I could see there's definitely a world where if Sean O'Malley wins and Ilia Topuria wins, you could see a fight between Sean and Ilia Topuria. I'm not sure if Max Holloway wins, you might not necessarily get that same fight because Topuria and O'Malley have already been chirping against each other. They've already been tweeting against each other. And I think the vibe for O'Malley moving up to face a featherweight champion, I think it fits more with Topuria than it does if Max Holloway recaptures the featherweight championship. So in my opinion, if Sean O'Malley goes out there and gets the win, not only is him being the new UFC superstar highly at stake there outside of Powhatan, because I don't even know if Conor McGregor's ever even going to fight again, and who's to say he won't fight again and go out and get waxed in a minute 55, you know what I'm talking about? So Sean O'Malley wins, it's Umar Nurmagomedov, possibly, just maybe, Ilia Topuria. There you go. Merab wins. It's Umar Nurmagomedov. Just maybe, you could maybe see a Davison Figueiredo fight, but That's only if that's only if Umar is not able to meet the date that they want. I would think that if they can't get Umar and we're talking about Merab, enter Piotr Yan. I just wanted to say that serious. Anyway, let's move on to the co-main event where Valentina Shevchenko, the old Chevy truck herself, steps into the octagon to try to reclaim her flyweight championship, a division that she made famous, a division you could argue was created for her because she couldn't capture the belt from Amanda Nunes at 135, and she was just too much of a tank to drop down to 115. And she steps in there against the current champion, Alexa Grasso. So, in my opinion, when I'm looking at the flyweight rankings for women, the women flyweight rankings, bro, for this, looks like all roads lead to Manon Fiorot. I mean, honestly, here's the thing. If Alexa Grasso defends her flyweight championship, from what I'm looking at, it's Manon Fiorot. I mean, she's ranked number 2 in the division. Under her is Erin Blanchfield. She's already defeated Erin Blanchfield. I mean, I'd have to say it'd have to be Alexa Grasso versus Manon Fiorot. Maybe, just maybe, they might slide in. I don't know. Number 3, I can't. Rank number 3 is Erin Blanchfield. Number 4 is Macy Barber. And then there's my other pick. I feel like if Alexa Grasso defends her championship, more than likely she's probably fighting Manon Fiorot, in my opinion. There's a slight chance that the number 5 ranked woman at flyweight could slide in there, and I'm going to talk about her in just a second. But I feel like if Alexa Grasso wins, they're looking for Fiorot as the next championship fight. But now let's talk about Valentina. If Valentina goes out there and reclaims her flyweight championship, definitely Manon Fiorot is right there. That's obviously the next fight the UFC will be looking to make. But what if they do a dream fight for the number 5 ranked woman at flyweight? This would be a dream fight that she wants, that she's spoken about before. Valentina she's spoken about is one of her favorite fighters of all time. Loves her style. They've even trained together. If Valentina captures the flyweight championship again, there is a possibility where with another win from the 5th ranked woman in the world at flyweight, we could see Valentina Shevchenko versus Thug Rose Namajunas. I could definitely see that being made in a world where Valentina hadn't started taking losses to Alexa Grasso and Rose Namajunas started taking losses to, Manon Fiorot and just doing weird stuff. In that world, I really believe the UFC was cruising toward that super fight before both women started taking L's. And the way that I see it, if Valentina can go out there and recapture the flyweight championship, there's definitely a world where you could see Rose Namajunas with another win sneak in there past Manon Fiorot, even though she lost to Fiorot. Granted, she did, she sprained her pinky finger and maybe also the finger next to the pinky. Maybe both of them was out. But even though she was one-handed in that fight, she still held her own against Fiorot, and Fiorot couldn't finish her. So, in this version of the UFC, they're not really worried about rankings per se. They're not really worried about who deserves the fight. Sometimes it's about what can we sell. And I feel like that fight almost sells itself. Both women have trained together before. Both women have a name in the sport. Both women probably will go down as being female legends of the sport. So it could happen. So to sum it up, for the co-main event, Alexa Grasso's next opponent, if she retains the championship, will probably be Ferro. If Valentina goes out there and regains the championship, it will probably be Ferro. But if that doesn't line up with the time frame that the UFC is putting out there, and Rose Namajunas can slide in there, maybe get another win, or just be available, there's definitely a world where we could see Valentina trying to defend her flyweight championship against Thug Rose Namajunas. It's definitely possible. Definitely could happen. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, in the Diego Lopez Brian Ortega fight, if Brian Ortega wins, maybe in some world where nobody else is available, Brian Ortega might try to sneak in there and get a title shot. I don't see it happening because I just think the UFC's kind of donezo with him, especially after his fiasco with his last fight that was booked against Diego Lopez. And if Diego wins, he's still got a few more wins he needs to put together. He'll be huge in the division. Don't get it twisted. Diego Lopez is that dude. You know what I'm saying? But he'd have to get a few more wins. So nevertheless, man, that's all that we going to talk about today. I just wanted to dive a little bit deeper into the two main events, the co-main events at the top of the show. A lot of these other fights, you know, I think, like I said, they were just put together to try to get a feel-good moment for the fans at UFC 306. Nevertheless, man, it will go down Saturday night. Dana White sneaking in here. He talking about he got 25 stacks for whoever can pick out all of the Easter eggs at UFC Noche. Whatever, Dana. I mean, what you talking about? Talking about picking out the Easter eggs. Dana White, hush up. You know what I'm talking about? Like, whatever, dude. You know, Dana always got to throw his 2 cents in there. I don't really know if that's going to translate into helping anybody care more about UFC 306, but he trying. So nevertheless, man, we'll see how it goes down. Please give me your thoughts. Who do you think Valentina or Alexa will face next with the win? Also, let me know, who do you think Sean O'Malley or Marab will fight next with the win? So please like, subscribe, comment, let me know. And once again, I do want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.